What's up, people? Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Henderson Jr. Tim, how's it going?
Great. Feeling great.
We are feeling good. Is that Gritty on a Hate Breed t-shirt?
Yeah.
Easily the best mascot that perfectly encapsulates a fandom is Gritty by far.
Oh, yeah. Look at this.
By far.
Great.
All right, so what are we talking about this week? This week, we're going to be talking about the importance of physical media. Now, everybody right now there's the old heads who are fans of our show who are nodding along without even hearing us discuss it. There are some of the young kids, young bucks going, what? Physical? So Tim and I are going to talk about what actually it's like for artists in the world of streaming and the lack of physical media the way it used to be, the lack of the Best Buy with new release Tuesday and 4,000 rows of CDs, and what you can do to actually support the artists that you love. So, Tim, let me start off with a really easy question. What's the last piece of physical media you bought?
Ooh. I honestly think the last... Oh, I know what it is. I bought the disembodied remaster of everything that Will Putney did. I bought the vinyl. And I only bought that just so I could frame it because I like to buy... I don't even have a vinyl or a record player. I just buy vinyl and I frame it around the house.
You beat me to it, but I was going to ask, do you buy vinyl? Because I'm the same. I have the last vinyl I bought was the last Boundaries album. I bought it on vinyl. I have the last couple of Boundaries releases on vinyl. And I don't own a turntable either. I just figured it was the best way to support the band. And then I turned around and last physical I bought was the Boundaries CD because I wanted the lyrics. I wanted to be able to read the lyrics as I listen, because that is for those of you that haven't done it in a while, sitting in a chair with a good pair of headphones, listening to an album, reading the lyrics, like digesting it, totally isolated. That it's an experience that's very hard to put into words. It's just, you want to get an album to really sit with you and resonate. That's how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last CD I bought was Acacia Strain. What's that one? It's like the bluish green on the cover.
Coma Witch?
It might have been. I was buying CDs for a while, for years, man, and just getting my collection up. And then I realized I had nowhere to put them, so I sold all of them.
Yeah, it's same. It was either Coma Witch or Wormwood. Coma Witch was green, Wormwood was blue.
It's one of them.
Probably Coma Witch.
I think it was a Digipack too.
Yeah. I was still buying. I still pre-order stuff. We'll go talk about Bandcamp in a moment. I still, if there's like throw the CD in with the T-shirt, I'll pay the extra $10. Right? I mean, it just supports the band. But I remember the old days. Tim, do you remember going to Best Buy or going to a CD shop and dropping $100, just not even thinking?
Oh, absolutely. Weekly sometimes.
Sometimes
twice a week we would.
Very Distro. Distro was dangerous. For those of you that don't know, Very Distribution they were out of Philly, weren't they?
Yeah. You would get the email every week.
Yeah, they were a CD distributor. They also had a catalog. And it was all mail order, and they carried everything. And their write-ups for the stuff was pretty good. And
the write-ups were the best part of them.
Yeah,
emails, man.
You basically knew what you were getting without even listening to it. But I remember spending $100 easily a month in just placing the order and picking up a whole bunch of shit that couldn't find anywhere else.
Rev does that still. Yep.
And I will say that the probably the only bad thing about buying CDs. So I've got a pile. I found I was moving stuff around in the back basement. I found a pile. I have some recent stuff: Knock Loose, Left Behind, Orthodox. I have all these CDs that have come out lately where I buy the T-shirt, CD. I get the CD as well, and it kind of goes in the drawer. The only problem with CDs is most cars these days do not come with a CD player.
Yeah, my Honda doesn't even have a fucking anything besides a USB.
Right. So, I mean, when I found some old stuff, I had a demo from this New York new metal band Stem, which was Mets backwards, and the logo was Mets spelled backwards. Oh, nice. I had to hook it up to my computer to burn it to listen to it. I got to dig it out. We're gonna play it on the show. I should see if I can find these guys. Head Rush, New Jersey. They were a local new metal band, 2 singers. I had to burn it. Like CDs are not like it used to be. Not like it used to be.
No, I don't even think
But
laptops come with CDs, anythings anymore.
most don't. Most don't. I have a pile of external. The nice thing is you can get a CD DVD burner reader cheap, like $15 on Amazon, and they're usually USB powered, so you don't even have to buy an adapter or anything. It's kind of cool.
My
So
MacBook has 2 ports.
yeah.
It doesn't even have a power button.
Yeah, the revenge of Steve Jobs. So one of the things, Tim, you said. So we're talking about the importance of physical media. This is a way to support bands. Let's talk about streaming, and specifically, let's talk about how artists, what kind of money they actually make from streaming. So here we are harping about physical media. And I guarantee you a good chunk of our listenership is going, well, I pay $15 a month for Spotify or Apple or Tidal or Deezer or whatever. Why do I need to buy physical? How is that helping? How is that really helping the band?
Well, this is a good segue into it. I'm glad you started with this. So
right, like, I already listened to them. I'm subscribed on Spotify. That's great, and we're not telling you not to do that, because slowly but surely the recording industry has changed itself to not just look at physical sales, but they're also looking at streaming numbers. They're looking at YouTube plays. There's a whole bunch of it's a basket. It's not just one metric, which was, whatever SoundScan would put out in a week. But if you look at this chart of what these companies pay per stream, and then the comparison metric is how many streams does a band need to get to $1,000 paid out, it's insane.
It's
insane.
The bottom one, when we get to it, is fucking outrageous, dude.
Yeah. So we'll start with Tidal. This is Jay-Z, right?
Can we? How about we start from the lowest tier?
Okay. All right.
I think that's kind of more interesting to start with.
Okay. So Pandora is a paid platform. They pay the artists per stream 0.0013 cents. 0.0013 cents. So
it's crazy. Excuse me.
It's insane. It's insane. So in order to get to $1,000 paid out in royalty, a band would need 769,231 streams.
Dude, some bands won't even get that in a lifetime.
Yeah.
I'd say 60-70% of bands won't even get that in a lifetime.
So I will tell you, I have numbers fresh in my mind, because Tim and I, before we started recording, we were talking about Sick New World. We have an episode coming up where we're going to talk about the lineup, and I've actually built a playlist of the most streamed song from every artist on that lineup, just so I can go through and see who's playing. There are a lot of bands that don't come anywhere close to this. And then you have the other end of it, which is like 787 million streams, which is nuts. So paying out a little more than Pandora, and this is going to surprise everybody. The one up from the bottom is our buddy Daniel Ek at Spotify. They pay 0.033 cents for every stream, which means to get $1,000, you need 303,030 streams.
Which brings me to the point where I see why people think Spotify is a fucking just highway robbery company, and this shows it right there, dude. That's fucking outrageous, man.
It is. So there's a concept in economics, Tim, called rent extraction. And what that means is that's basically the middleman who sits in between the buyer and seller, the two interested parties, and they don't really provide anything, but they take a cut off the top. Spotify, Pandora, Deezer, Tidal. This is their only product, and it's pure rent extraction. So there would be no Spotify if these artists didn't make music. There would be none of these services unless these artists made music. If no artist made music, none of these services would exist. Yeah. But their value, their Silicon Valley, their Wall Street valuations, billions of dollars, for what? They don't own shit but an app and an algo.
Well, see, and I'm glad that you said that, because I literally don't understand how streaming companies make money at all. I really don't. I cannot sit here and tell you I know anything about it, because I don't. I understand they make money from people subscribing, obviously.
That's where the money comes from. So a small it's one of those things where a small percentage of your customer base covers an outsized, it's the 80-20 principle, or it's even smaller. It's probably like 10-90, where 10% of your paying customers make up for the 90% that don't. It's like, to bring a really weird metaphor into play, it's like the ads on porn sites. Everybody says, well, who clicks on those things? Well, there are people that do. And the small amount of people that do make up for the people that don't, which makes it financially worthwhile. But again, Spotify is pure rent extraction. How it's worth billions of dollars is beyond me. For what, the Prince and Princess of Wales, right? Harry and Meghan's podcast that did 8 episodes. Get out of here. The other company, Tim, that I would put in the same vein is something like an Airbnb. How is that worth any money? It's an app. They don't own any property. It's me renting to you. They're just taking a cut out the middle.
I guess you have shit. There's got to be some kind of shares they make for hosting the actual link and all that shit.
I mean, they have an app. They built the app, but as someone who does IT work, it's not worth $1 billion. It's a UI. It's a UI and a billing system on the back end. Like, come on, it's a reservation system.
It's something an 18-year-old could make in his fucking bedroom on his phone. Yep. Like, come on, dude.
Yep.
You give someone a little Linux computer, they could build anything.
Yeah. One of those Raspberry Pis, probably run Spotify off a Raspberry Pi. So 303,000 plus streams to get $1,000 from Spotify. Buy your physical media, people. Buy your physical media. A little bit better than Spotify, we have Amazon Music, and I didn't rattle off Amazon, YouTube, and Apple because they are primarily other. They have a primary product that's other. This is just an add-on. Amazon Music plays 0.004 cents for every song streamed. In order to get to $1,000, you need 250,000 streams.
Still ridiculous.
Still insane. Then we have Deezer. Well, I don't know a living human being who uses Deezer. They play.
I couldn't tell you one person that even. I didn't even know about Deezer.
It pays 0.0064 cents per stream. 156,250 streams to get $1,000. We have yet to even meet real money yet. And by real money, I mean money per stream that I could actually take out of a cash register. Yeah. Someone could pay me for one stream. They can't do that with a penny because I know them change. Then we have YouTube Music, 0.008 cents. We're getting there. 125,000 streams for $1,000. Apple Music, now we have hit officially cash register till exchange. They pay 1 cent a stream. So to get $1,000, you need 100,000 streams.
Yay for Apple.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Goes to Steve Jobs. And last but not least, the one who actually pays the best is Tidal, which makes sense because it's owned by Jay-Z and he's a musician himself. 0.013 cents. So it's 1 cent and a third, a little less than a third. 76,924 streams to get to $1,000. Tim, there are bands that won't, like you said, they won't see that in a lifetime. That's completely insane. And while I have a Spotify account and I use it, I don't think anybody realizes that the artists get nothing. They get nothing.
Pretty much nothing. I mean, like, unless you're like Metallica, Lady Gaga, shit like that, you ain't making a fucking dime off this shit, man. Mm-hmm. I think like Mark from Chimera said he gets a royalty check for like 4 cents every month. Fucking right. 4 cents. Why even send it to me?
Right. So another thing to think about when we're talking about the importance of physical and how do we support the bands that we like and love, the best thing you could do for a band that you support, it's not subscribe on YouTube, it's not subscribe on Spotify, buy a t-shirt.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. Buy a t-shirt. So Lance from Down the Sun shared a meme that I clipped specifically for this. He said in 2020, one t-shirt is the equivalent to 5,000 streams on Spotify. He said 76% of all music in 2020 is streamed and not bought physically or digitally. Band merchandise is the most direct way of supporting an artist. I will say that the caveat to this is buy a t-shirt. Me personally, find me as Horse Cow on Bandcamp. Go to Bandcamp and buy the music. Just buy the music.
Especially you then own Fridays.
It. Yep, you then own it. You can download it and put it on whatever tool you want. The mobile app now allows you to download directly to your phone. You can build playlists. And like Tim said, they have artist give back Fridays where 100% of the proceeds get passed on to the bands. There's no middleman fee. I have a huge Bandcamp library. I buy shit all the time. This is also how I monitor what's coming out and what I want to, because you can tag things to a wish list, so I can monitor not only what's coming out, but what's coming out soon that I want to buy. These are the best ways to support your band. Buy a t-shirt, right? I mean, the other side of this, Tim, and I think we could probably do a whole episode, a series of episodes on merch. With the inflation being the way it is, t-shirts are getting kind of pricey.
Yeah, I mean, show wise,
$30 for a t-shirt is not unheard of.
I paid $40 for this one at the Hatebreed show a couple months ago. I mean, I was willing to pay though, because you know what? It helps for gas money. It helps them tour again. And you know, it's crazy because like the young kids listening, like they don't understand like the whole caveat of all this shit, because it's like back then physical media was so important too, because I don't think people understand how important liner notes are and stuff as well.
Yep.
I mean, because I used to hear people always say, why do they have to thank every goddamn this and that? It's because they're helping each other, man.
Right.
Like social media is what liner notes are nowadays.
That is a great analogy. It really is. You're right. So social media is to today what liner notes were to yesterday. I mean, shout out to Zone Zero. We made it to their liner notes. That's a great nod. And there might be, I don't know, if you're one of the fans that found us that way, let us know. There might be a fan out there who picked up that Zone Zero physical CD, got the liner notes, saw the New Breed podcast, and said, hey, I should probably check those guys out. You never know. But you're right. I mean, it definitely is social media networking.
Yeah, even if we got 4 fucking fans from just them liner notes, that's 4 people that probably would have never heard of us.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, I we can't talk about merch without talking about merch cuts. Specifically, Ticketmaster Live Nation just rolled out that new program where if you go to an arena show, Tim, that Hatebreed, was that Hatebreed Anthrax Black Label Society?
Yes.
Yep. Where was that?
Fillmore.
Okay, so the Fillmore, I'm sure the bands paid merch cuts. Now they don't anymore.
Yeah. Well,
it's only your true. It's all the arena shows. The arena shows, they still collect merch cuts. The Taylor Swift size events where I hope everybody realizes when you go to one of those shows and you pay, or who's the guy who looks like a little leprechaun? Ed Sheeran. When you go and pay $60 for a t-shirt there, the venue gets a cut. Ticketmaster gets a cut. The artist is not making $60. Not saying that's right, because but you know, buy a t-shirt. And what's the worst thing that happens? You end up with an entire look with what I do with Tim, where you end up with an entire dresser full of t-shirts. Once every 2 years you go through, pull out 20 or 30, then give them to somebody else and wear them.
I do the same shit. I give the ones that don't fit me anymore to other people.
Yep. I mean, we're all regifting metal merch, which is kind of funny.
So when I see Jay buy a shirt at a show, I go, yeah, I'll probably have that in a couple of years.
Not anymore, because I'm up into the super fat guy sizes now. And for those of you, in all seriousness, for those of you that wear bigger sizes, I wear a XXX t-shirt. Most bands do 3X and 4X. Not a lot of bands tour with them because they're expensive to print and they take up a lot of space. Yep. But you can get them from Indie Merch Store, from Metal Maniacs, from what's the other merch place that's out of Philly, begins with Cold
Cuts.
Cold Cuts merch. Order the shit online. Wait till after the tour when they put up tour leftovers.
That's what I do all the time. I
me
love
too.
Tour leftovers.
That's
the best.
Unless I'm really like, I'm worried they're not going to have tour leftovers. But you know what? I've been burned by that a couple times, and I'll tell you, the last Boundaries tour, they had no leftovers. I should have got the one with the dates. And if you're going to buy a t-shirt at a show, hint to all you younger fans out there, buy the shirt that has the tour dates on it, because that's the one that you're going to remember most.
That's the one people are going to want to buy in the aftermarkets too.
Yes. Nobody wants I love Terror, but the Terror Eagle, everybody had that shirt. Cursed, everybody had that shirt. But if you have the one that said, fall 98 tour and all the dates, I mean, I missed the 200 Stab Wounds one. I missed Boundaries. I actually did buy, when I was at Drain, I bought a Drain t-shirt, which also was bright blue, which is kind of wild that they do different colors. But taking it to the topic of the episode, buy the band's merch. No, buy a t-shirt, right? I know $30 is not necessarily cheap, but if you're doing like a 4-color shirt, 2 sides, that's about what you'd expect, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing, the importance with physical media still to this day is when you buy a CD that has a UPC on it, you're still contributing to Billboard numbers and stuff like that. And when you have a label looking at a band, say there's a band that you like that's on like a small indie label, but they sell a shitload of CDs. That's what's going to show tour promoters.
Mhm.
That's what's going to show other bigger labels that, hey, this band can sell. This band sold 2K this week. Wow, they might have something. So if you like a band and you contribute to that, you might see the band get signed from, say,
Yeah.
we'll just say Trustkill because that's what I can think of, even though they're not a label. But you can see a band get on Trustkill get signed to, say, Metal Blade, and then there you go. Your favorite band is now playing with probably some of your other favorite bands. They're
Mhm.
going to put out more merch that you can buy because they're going to be able to afford it. See, when you just stream stuff, man, you're not contributing. I mean, you're contributing to just making other people rich that aren't the band, honestly.
Right. I mean, yes, there are the intangibles of I share this band on Facebook or I talk about it to my friends and I introduce some people. There is that, right? We're not going to discount that, but putting money in a band's pocket, putting reputational um bolstering in a band's repertoire that allows them to play bigger venues, get on bigger tours, sign to bigger labels. That it's a function of merch. It's a function of attendance. It's a function of units moved, and that's another thing. Tim, we can probably bootstrap
Well,
into the back of this.
I think you're about to say what I'm about to say too. So
Go see the bands live.
here's another thing, man, that people don't realize. And I'm guilty of it too sometimes. I always fucking hear people say, dude, why is this tour not coming to such and such city? Well, here's the problem. The people in such and such city don't contribute to that band. So then the band says, well, no one likes us in Philly. So why the fuck are we going to Philly? That's the whole fucking problem here is you're not buying any, you're not showing your support for the band
Mm-hmm.
because everything done online is always up there. So if you buy something and your IP address comes from Philadelphia, comes from Fort Myers, comes from Kentucky, wherever you want to call it, the band's going to see that and go, wow, we're popular in such and such city.
Yes, the streaming reports will tell them where they're getting play.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
So you have to, either way, you're contributing. But I just hate when people bitch all the time. Oh, like the Cavalier thing didn't come through Philly.
That drives me absolutely bananas. But I guarantee you that if we sat down with their manager and asked, "Hey, why do you guys never play Philly?" They probably, to your point, Tim would probably say something like, "Yo, we always do well in Reading. We always pack the house. The room is
Exactly.
always sold out. We move a shit ton of merch. Why would we go to Philly?" And
Yeah.
you know what? I can't blame them.
Yeah, no, you can't. And the other part is that maybe there wasn't a venue available for that band.
That's the
You
other
have to
thing.
think of that too. But at the same time, like Mushroomhead, they don't ever come through Philly unless they'd never come through Philly on a fucking headliner. You'll never see them. Like they just headlined, they just came to Reading. They always play Reading. They sell Reading very well. And to your point, you just made it. If they would have came to Philly, I would have went again. But they came to Reading. I didn't feel like driving all the way up there. It's a fucking hike. And
Mm-hmm.
that venue fucking blows. But like I said, when I did go there and see them, it was fucking sold out. They sold a shitload of merch. I mean, it's just they go to where they're gonna make money these days because it ain't the 90s, dude, where you go at places and you're guaranteed this. Like venues don't pay
Mm-hmm.
you shit. They give you a hot bottle of water and a fucking here you go. Here's a fucking piss
Some
bucket.
pasta. Yeah, right. Here's some pasta with some dry Parmesan. Enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like, dude, like it's not the same anymore. So the more you contribute, the better or the more these bands are going to come around. And a lot of
Yeah.
people are going to say, "Oh, well, the same bands always come around." But that's a whole nother thing, man. These smaller bands, dude, they got to get their name out there,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
they're going to keep coming through. But bands like
Uh,
if you like Hatebreed and you're not supporting them, they're not going to come around.
right. Right. I mean, every once in a while, when a band gets super successful, they have the luxury of doing the hey, we're going to do all tier one cities, and then we'll do okay. We've made enough that we can do the second leg, and we're going to do Billings. No offense to anybody in Montana. God bless you. Your weather, your scenery is beautiful, but they're going to do like South Fork, Dakota, or 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 Billings, Montana, or the second and third tier cities. So, I mean, and for smaller bands, tickets are not expensive. They're not expensive.
No.
And you know what? If you spend $20, and I know that's not an insignificant amount of money for young people, right? If you're young and you're only getting an allowance, but look at it this way: you spend the $20-$25 to go to the show, and if you end up not going, well, that band still made money off you. You still supported them, right? It still showed as tickets sold.
I love people that say, "Oh man, that ticket's $20. That's a lot," and then they go out and buy 2 packs of smokes, a 30-pack, a fucking eighth of
right.
weed. It's like, whoa.
It's like, what are you doing? I mean, now granted, if I spent like a whole if I spent 100-something bucks on a show, I'm going to that show. But I mean, just recently, it was a Monday night. It was, I think, the last date they played in the U.S. It was Cruelty in Outer Heaven in Philly. It was raining. I had a brutal work day. I just like, you know what? I supported them because I bought the ticket, and they sold the ticket. It's an extra head. Okay. But yeah,
it's kind of like Pantera. Like people were saying, I can't believe you paid $340 for one ticket. Well, let me tell you why I did. A, because you never knew if they were going to come around ever again. There's one. B, I got a great seat. C, it was fucking foolproof. I walked in, I walked right to the seat. I didn't have any fucking assholes fucking leaning on me, fucking stinking around me. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, people are always like, oh, well, that was just a cash grab. Well, fucking of course it was. They're musicians. What are you talking about?
What do you think? They're going to do it for free? They got to make money somehow. They're going to make it worth their while.
If Jay's a comedian and say Jay's a comedian really popular 20 years ago, and he comes back and he's going to sell tickets, of course he's going to raise them. It's got to be worth it.
Yeah, right. It's got to be worth it to get off the couch on both sides. It has to be on the band side. It needs to be worth it for them to get off the couch and tour and live in a truck, in a van for a month and a half. I think it was a month and a half long tour. I think
these dudes are old too, man.
Conversely, for us, the band knows they got to make it worth the while for us to get off the couch. They got to put on a hell of a show.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
you got to have lights. You got to have stage theatrics.
I'm not gonna narc anybody out. We're not going to name names, but there were bands of Sick New World that played to a backing track, bands that people were excited to see. There were bands at a recent hardcore festival music festival that they admitted they did not practice prior to this reunion set, and it showed.
Throwdown.
So
let's fucking name them. Who cares?
You need to. The band, it's a relationship between the band and the fans. The band provides something that the fans enjoy, either the music or the live show, and the fans support them by buying merch, whatever. And again, we talked about buying merch online. If you can do it, buy the merch at the show, because literally, and Adam from Orthodox will tell you, that's how they get to the next show. They use that money for gas.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the band not practicing after blah, blah, blah years. That's a fucking slap in the face to the promoter. That's a slap in the face to the fucking venue. It's a slap in the face to the fan. Mm-hmm. It's a slap in the face to your fucking bandmates, dude. Come on with that shit, dude.
And there are every band has a bad show now and again, right? Sometimes either things aren't firing or the sound doesn't sound right. I'll be honest, when I saw Vane at This Is Hardcore, it was an off show. It didn't sound right. But then a buddy of ours saw them at Furnace Fest. They said, they were amazing. So maybe they just had an off night. Who knows?
Yeah, but and another thing, I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but like, if you're a band and you can't play because your laptop broke, that's a fucking sorry excuse for a shit band. Like Black Veil Brides or some shit, or
like their laptop wasn't working. So I mean,
like, dude, that's a sad fucking excuse for being a musician. First of all, if you can't fucking reproduce live without a laptop, I'm sorry, get the fuck out of my face, dude.
If you can't reproduce live without a laptop, there's again, not going to name the band. Tim can be the bad guy. The band where they played in the studio, then their studio recordings were sped up.
Oh yeah, fucking what's that? Rings of Saturn or some shit. Yeah, I don't fucking care. I'll name them. Whatever.
That I mean, again, there's multiple facets that go into an artist that we love. One of which is the music, the other is the merch, the other is the live show. Those three things, they're three sides of a triangle that combine together. That the bands that do 2 out of 3 well, they'll be able to eke out some money. The bands that do 3 out of 3 well are the bands that become successful. Bands like people say, well, I had somebody say on a message board the other day, how come it seems like Knock Loose is always on the road? Well, why wouldn't you be? That's that they're basically getting paid to practice and get better.
They're young.
Yes, bands like Knock Loose, bands like Frozen Soul, bands like Sanguisugabogg, bands like Kaonashi, they're always on the road. And that's how you practice. That's how you play these different places, you build fan bases, and also that's how you get better at your instruments.
Yeah,
right?
That's how you sell more records.
Yes. But one of the things we didn't talk about, Tim, this is definitely made a left field from the importance of physical, but you brought up you made a remark about how sometimes there isn't a venue available in the city where I think it was Cold had to cancel a tour or postpone it because they couldn't find a van. Danzig couldn't find a van. Another thing, a hangover that I don't know when it's going to end. We're 3 years on from the pandemic. Every band got out on the road as soon as they could because that's how they made their money. So now you have almost an overabundance of tours. I mean, there's a week in November. There's 2 weeks in November where I think over 14 days, I think there's 8 shows in Philly that I really want to go see that I got to figure out how am I going to do this and have my wife not divorce me. But everybody's on the road now. But that doesn't mean, do the shows you can, support the bands you can.
Yeah, I mean, and look what else COVID did. It killed the processing plants. Mm-hmm. So that comes into the importance of physical media too, because then bands go out, they don't have the fucking vinyl ready. It's pushing back record releases. I mean, that fucking Dying Fetus probably should have came out months ago. I just talked to Rob Morton from Cognitive. He was over my house on Saturday. That album is at Metal Blade, but it's not coming out until the spring. Yeah, because they can't get their vinyl.
They have to wait. Vinyl is so backed up.
And if you can buy vinyl, plants closed. Yeah,
but yeah, there was a live event supply chain impact with the lockdown, and it hasn't been great, and bands are still trying to get back together. But all of this, get back on the horse, I should say. All this is to say, if you like an artist, support them, because someday they're going to be gone. You're going to be sad that you didn't get a chance to see them live, to see the show. You're going to regret, I should have bought that CD when I had the chance. You know how many times I've gone back to eBay to rebuy stuff that I resold to Tunes and Marlton.
Me too.
It may be a little bit of a sacrifice now, but you'll thank yourself later. Again, I kicked myself not going to Woodstock 99. I had the open invite. I had the ticket. I bailed. And there's bands now that are having, I mean, look at Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit is a perfect example. They disappeared for a long time. They did that show at Lollapalooza in Chicago. And that was part of the daisy chain of, they had that outdoor tour, which got bagged that we went to. Then they did a full US tour indoors. Now they just played Aftershock. Fred Durst is dressed like a cowboy. And then they're going to Japan and Australia, whatever. And they'll be back in the States. I guarantee they do another tour. They'll do either a bunch of festival headlines, or they'll take a bunch of younger bands out. Maybe they do another reunion set. Maybe they do 25 years of results may vary.
Not to cut you off, but before I forget, there's one thing that we didn't talk about that we need to talk about, and that is Soulseek and all that shit when physical media was at its heyday. I mean, so before Napster and all that shit, physical media was everything, dude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now when I think about it now, and this is totally, I'm sorry to do it now. It came to my head and I didn't want to forget it. But when Napster comes out, it completely, so kids listen that probably weren't even born yet. When Napster comes out, it completely flips the music industry
on its ear.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's documentaries everywhere. I mean, the Lars thing is fucking forever ingrained in people. But that completely turned everything. And my question to you and people listening, put it in the comments, whatever. If that doesn't happen and somebody doesn't figure that out, A, is physical media still huge right now? And B, is there even streaming right now? If Napster never happened and Blogspots and IRC chats and all that shit, how different is the music industry today?
So the other side, before we dive in, before I answer your question, we also need to think about, and I was telling you about the book, how music got free. So along with Napster, Soulseek, Kazaa, all that, there was leaks coming from the CD plants
Yeah.
nonstop. Any major artist, their shit was getting leaked. As soon as it went to the plant to be pressed, Tim and I were just talking about, say, Dying Fetus, the album was done for 6 months before they released it. As soon as that thing went to the press, it would have leaked because somebody would have walked out with it. Do I think streaming and all this all still would have happened? Probably eventually, but I'm not sure how fast. So, and for those people that are younger or weren't there, the reason why Napster and those things took off so fast was because the record labels kept raising the price of CDs. At the CD high watermark, it was $22 for a disc, $22 for a major label release. And if you think so, for us metal fans, that it's not the same as, imagine the poor schmuck that goes to buy the newest Justin Timberlake album or the newest Pink album, where, let's be real, there's 3 or 4 bona fide singles, there's a couple of decent tracks, and then there's a lot of filler. Most major label releases were like that because they filled each CD. So CD singles never took off. So you would have to buy a full album for that one song you heard on the radio you liked. Now do that 10 times, that's $220 for 10 songs. So the fans were getting fed up because the industry was bleeding us dry. And then this thing comes out where, wait, I can download everything. I could download anything I want and not have to pay for it. The most I'd have to pay would be for a CD burner to burn it myself. Oh, hell yeah, I'm in. But I bring that up, Tim, because without that, the prevalence of downloading, the prevalence of the piracy, the prevalence of Napster is what led iTunes to become what it did. Because there's a story, the greatest thing, it was a book I read about the invention of the iPod. He went to the record labels and he said, look, I'm going to build iTunes, which is a distribution mechanism. I have the hardware. I want to license your stuff. I'll give you $1 a song. I'm going to sell it for $1 a song. And they said, get the hell out of here. And he said, okay, fine. Well, you don't have to sell it this way, but people are still going to pirate your shit. And then you don't make any money. Mm-hmm. And they bent over and they gave Steve Jobs the $1 a song. And look what happened. He made billions.
Yep.
Which, if you want to go down another weird rabbit hole, Tim, that is why now when it comes to streaming, you have 10 different streaming services. Because they saw what happened to the music industry where they aligned under one provider, one vendor, right? And then he basically, rent extraction. You don't have an iPod without somebody else's music. You don't.
Yeah.
He made money hand over fist.
It's the same philosophy with, Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and Paramount and all that shit.
Yep. So because the monopoly player was able to hold that industry basically hostage, you end up with the balkanization of the streaming services, where now you probably pay more. Most people probably pay as much for their streaming services as they would if they just had basic cable, if they just had cable.
Yeah. I mean, how much money do you think like Memorex made off of blank CDs and DVDs?
Oh my God. I was buying spindles. I was buying 100-count spindles every other month.
Yeah. Oh, fucking right, dude.
I probably still have boxes of burned CDs somewhere.
Oh, hell yeah. I would love to know how much Memorex,
TDK, Maxell, all those places. Tim, do you remember when we used to be able to share files via AOL Instant Messenger?
Oh, fuck yeah.
And people would open their playlists and you would just go to Tim Anderson and click his media and you go, oh, there's the new Finch album. Click.
Yeah. I mean, you could still do it if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think AOL IM is still out there. But again, this is we're not making excuses.
It is. My dad was still paying for it 4 years ago. He didn't even know.
Oh my God. What an amazing episode that was. But the long and short of it is you need to find a way to support the artists that you love, or those artists that you love eventually go away. A lot of the and this isn't throwing any of the new fans under the bus, the younger guys, because they weren't around, but we interviewed Blake from Stepa and his story, right? They had something going, they had some talent. The record label signed them, then they went out on the road and the response wasn't there, and it was a slog. And with these bands, when you're playing every night to an empty room, that's where the fractures start hitting and the bands start getting fussy with each other. Not every band is, I don't know, the most recent example I can think of is a band like Nails, which when they first came out, they were literally playing to like a half dozen people. And then that last tour they did was packed at the underground, Union Transfer.
Listen, I could tell you firsthand with that kind of shit. I used to be in a band. It was about '06 to 2011. When we first started, yeah, we were playing to three people in a room. Our girlfriends, maybe the girlfriends would even come. But as years went, dude, we were playing the Troc. We were headlining Troc shows. We were playing this show that, I mean, to fucking hundreds of people. And when you're doing that in a band, dude, it makes everyone's ego rise. It makes everyone happy. You're fucking selling merch. You're selling this, that. We broke up. We got back in 2016. We went right back to playing for three people. And after 2 years of that shit, dude, you just nailed it right there, dude. Like when you don't support a band that you like, dude, that's when shit collapses, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could tell you firsthand it happened. We thought, hey, we were a big, we were a big local back then. People are gonna come right back out. Nope. Because you got to remember, fucking people have kids. They got health problems. They got money problems.
Times change, tastes change.
Yeah.
Yep. Venues change.
That was a big fucking slap to everyone's ego in the band, because we were like, shit, dude, we were ready to get signed to this label and blah blah blah, and then we come back and it's just done.
Yep. And now it's
yeah.
way more competitive. It's very competitive. And some of that is, there is I don't want to be all completely negative to some of the streaming services like Bandcamp and some of those other providers, because they do provide a necessary service in the sense that they find a way to help you find new things. Yeah. And the rails by which you can put stuff out on a streaming service are so streamlined that, there are some younger bands, some smaller bands that probably would never get the nod without that type of infrastructure. I look at Paleface, right? They just came through. They were an opener for Body Snatcher. Then they came through on a headline US tour with 3 other deathcore bands. I think they've sold out probably almost every show. If not, if it's 30 dates, they probably have sold out 25 of them. So how does a band from Switzerland get big? Well, and they've only done 1 US tour prior to this. It's by word of mouth, and it's Spotify exposure. So there is, and YouTube. So there is some benefit to that. But
yeah. I mean, and I just thought about it too. Like, people listening are probably like, "Oh, you only played to 200 people," but like, yeah, that's not a lot of people. But when you're in a small local band, that's huge, dude.
It's a packed room, yeah.
It is, because like when you see a big band like Hatebreed, they're only playing to like 1,000 probably. Like Fillmore's like probably 2,000 cap. You know what I mean? And that's not always sold out every time. But like, you have to realize too, like when even little bands, and we're going right back to the importance of physical media. Like when a band like, Live Set that I used to be in, we would make CDs and sell them, but then we made a shitload over the new record, and I think Vince is still sitting on fucking hundreds of them. It's just like, you gotta, it's all in this shit that people just don't understand about anything band wise or music industry wise. And especially nowadays, if you're thinking you're gonna make it being in like a hardcore band, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, you gotta sell out and go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing when people say shit about like what's Turnstile, like, oh, they sold the fuck out. What are you talking about? They sold out. They're in this to be musicians. That this is what their dream is. I never understood the word sellout.
No, neither did I. Because I mean, dude, if you get popular enough that Taco Bell wants to use your shit and they're going to pay you money for it, and that's going to give you residuals, yes, that's why you do it. If a movie comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to include one of your songs in our soundtrack," that'll mean you always get residuals. Fuck yeah, you're going to do it. If a video game says, "Hey, I want to use your shit in my video game," that means I'm going to always. Yes, you do it. That is the epitome of passive income. That's earning income off of something you did previously.
Yeah, if you're in a band and you're like, fuck the system and fuck these people, I'm not fucking doing this, you're not really in it, man.
Well, I mean, there's a space for you. You always want to play basement shows and, give a punk a can of food and you get in for free. There's room for that. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But don't sit there and poke fingers at somebody else who's trying to, not have to work a day job when they go home. There was an old story about every time I die. It's the same reason
Nickelback is hated. It's the same shit, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I bring up Every Time I Die as an example. There was I forget who the interview did where they talked about how they all had the same tattoo. It was 4 stars with 1 star filled in. And that was the running joke about they would always stay at like Motel 6 or like some roach motel, because their thing was, we want to make as enough money as we can on the road. We'll sacrifice on the road and live cheap, so we get home and we don't have to have a job. This can be our only job. And they reached a point where that last album, that was, not only was it a goddamn good album, but they were doing the Buffalo Christmas event, and they had a ton of bands on that. And that if that's your goal, is to make a career out of it, well, then think about what you gotta. It's part of you scrimping and saving and making the right choices financially. But the other side of it is your fans. We as fans need to support the bands that we like and love.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that we're friends with that have come back from tour recently, and they're asking, "Hey, man, any jobs I can do until I go back out on tour?" It's like, dude, people just don't realize the importance of all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck wants to be on the road in a van for fucking 60 days, come back and be like, I'm penniless? Like, it's fucking crazy, dude.
Right. Come home broke. Yeah.
Come home in the negatives sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because gas is fucking. See, that's another thing people don't realize about prices of shit is like, oh, this shirt's $40, but dude, it's gas, it's inflation. The shirts are more expensive.
Eating. Yeah, the blanks are more expensive. I remember, who do we interview? The guys from Vatican, Tom from Vatican.
Yeah.
Where we talked about the show that they were going on. And he even said the gas prices, he said we were moving a shit ton of merch every show, and all that did was allow us to get to the next show and eat a meal.
Yeah, that's fucking wild, dude. Like, it's just, I just hate when people bitch. Like even when I just went to Pantera, like, my buddy bought like 4 shirts, and one of the people with us was like, I can't believe you spent all that money. And he's like, why? Like, I'm supporting one of my favorite bands. Like,
right.
You got to get out of that mindset, dude, because if you're willing to throw a $50, $50, I mean, on a fucking just bullshit, that's your fucking prerogative. I get it, but like, that's fucking wild thinking, man.
Yeah. So not trying to turn this into a lecture and chastise anybody. All we're trying to do is, Tim and I are trying to explain to our younger listener demographic that it is important that you do actually spend some money on the bands themselves, be it physical, be it merch, be it see them, buy tickets to their next show.
At this point, merch is a physical media, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because my thing is, if I come across a band, like I just discover a band and I really like them, I went to that Paleface show and I really liked Crown Magnetar. Came home and I ordered a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Why didn't I buy it at the show, you're asking? Well, they didn't have my size. That's fine.
Yeah, they didn't have big guy sizes. You got it online.
And the lines at the merch tables, my lord. The show we could do is, you don't wear the shirt of the band you're going to see. That's only acceptable with Slayer and Cannibal Corpse, and
or if you're freezing,
right. Like if
you buy it,
the amount of people I was seeing at that show who were buying shit and then putting it on, I was like, maybe I'm just old. I
can see that because you want to mosh and you don't want to fucking
carry it,
lose it. Yeah, but
all right, Tim. So final thoughts before we get out of here.
Yeah, fucking support the bands, man, because when you don't support them, they're going to go away.
Yep.
That's all I can say. Support them or they go away.
I will say the same thing. Buy a t-shirt.
Support New Breed or we go away. No, I'm just kidding. We don't give a fuck.
No, this comes out of our allowance. Buy a t-shirt. If you don't like if you get to a point where you don't like the band, sell the t-shirt. Somebody will buy it from you.
Yeah.
Somebody will buy it from you.
Merch swaps are huge, man.
Merch swaps, Depop. There's tons of avenues there. Shit, I follow that one account from Florida where they always get vintage stuff. They had a vintage, I think it was a vintage Strife Victory Records t-shirt with the bulldog on the arm, and I was like, Jesus, where did that come from? But yeah, buy the thing, put it in a box, throw some mothballs in there. These t-shirts last way longer than the ones, Tim, the old Giant or Gildans that we used to get. They last longer.
That's another thing. Learn how to wash your merch correctly and dry your merch correctly, people.
Yeah.
There's so many shirts I see that the logos are fucked up and they're shrunk. And dude, the things on the tags are there for a reason, man.
Dude, wash it inside out, hang dry. That's it.
I mean, for Christ's sake, dude, don't dry your shirt right after you get it. It's going to shrink. It's going to turn from an extra large to a medium.
Oh, that's the worst.
Wash it.
Yeah.
Wash it in cold water, fucking hang it, man. It's gonna last forever. The cotton's not gonna shrink on you. Just be smart, man.
Yeah. And if they don't have your size, buy a size up, then wash it in hot water
Then
and dry
wash
it,
it in hot
and
and
it'll shrink
yeah,
right down.
exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in again. Hope you enjoyed this rant by two old guys talking about new metal. New Breed _ podcast on Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on our Facebook group. Find us on r/new metal. Until next time, this is New Breed Podcast saying cheers.
Later.